Ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to welcome all of you to another Chamber University. Today's topic is developing a mindset of embracing change, presented by Robert Negron with Christ-centered leadership. Mr. Negron, you now have the floor. You have to unmute yourself, Mr. Negron.
Thank you, Robert, for giving me this opportunity to present this material in an area that I think affects us all. We're all affected by the area of change. We live in an environment where there's change going around us all the time. And I hope that to the participants and those who listen to this down the road can take some good nuggets away from it. And it will help them in embracing change, because we all tend to resist change. So that being said, I'm going to start with my first slide, which is what comes to mind when you think of the word change. If I were to walk in, I remember when I used to work in corporate America, and I would walk into my desk, and if my stapler had been moved, it would upset me because it was changed. It was not in the same place that it was previously. And I kind of look back at things, little things like that, wondering if something that small upsets me, I wonder how I'm really dealing with the area of change in other areas of my life. So I have to ask, on a scale of 1 to 10, how do you feel about change? 10 being the most excited toward change, and 1 being the least excited about change. If you were to grade yourself, what would it be? Ella? You're muted.
You should be able to unmute yourself. There you go.
I did. On a scale of 1 to 10, how do I feel about change? Well, I love change. I thrive on change. I hate tedium, and I've always been that way. So I like a challenge. I get excited when there's a change, because, and if the change is presenting or seem to be presenting difficulties, that's what I love, because I'm like, okay, let's go. I'm going to get this done. I'm going to beat this. So I love change.
That's good. So then you can be a good example for other people.
Yes. Yes.
That's great.
And I think that's why many times people ask me for help with stuff, because I'm not afraid of change. Yeah.
Robert?
I would say I'm probably a 6 or 7.
So are you ready today to take your embracing change level up to the next level?
Absolutely. I like change, but I'm always I'm more than a little bit hesitant.
Yeah. Well, the good news about embracing change is that it's simply a mindset, because what really keeps us from change often is our fear that keeps us away from doing things that we really need to be doing. But when we understand the why we're changing, we're going to have be much more empowered in becoming more of a change agent. Everywhere we look, we see change. What is here today is often gone tomorrow. All we have to do is look around and see the 4 seasons. We see winter, spring, summer, fall. All have their benefits, but they all have their downsides. In winter, we get the snow, the frigid weather. In the spring, we get excitement. The leaves start to bud on the trees. Summer, we get the hot weather, vacations, and we get the hurricanes. In fall, we have the beautiful colors of the trees and a cooling in the air right before the next winter starts. Each season that's right around us all has its benefits and some downsides too. But we live in an ever-changing world. So I want to ask another question. How have you handled the changes that COVID-19 has brought to your lives? Wearing masks, social distancing, Ella? You're muted.
Okay, well, for me, I have not had much difficulty in adjusting because I had stopped. I left corporate a year ago and was operating from home. So the stay-at-home piece, it was, no problem. I just continued with that. Wearing the mask, I don't have a problem wearing the mask and, washing hands. And in the very beginning, it was a little bit strange. Oh, you have to wash your hands. Oh, you have. And then, sometimes I go in my car to go somewhere and then, darn, I have to go back for the mask. But it's now like a matter of course. It has become a normal, well, not a normal, but no, normal for me to do those basic things. The other piece of it, though, is where I would be doing training outside, with other persons in other location, then that's not possible at this time. And so I have to be adjusting now to the virtual side of things and trying to learn some more of how to deliver through a virtual platform. So, but I welcome that. My only issue though with learning all these tech stuff or social media stuff is that it was never my area. And I had always said, I don't want to learn about that because being in corporate, I've always just told, whichever department, this is what I want done, so on, and they do it. And I just was not, interested in doing that. So that part is a little bit difficult for me, but because of my why, I am really digging in. So it's slow, it's a plod, but I'm on that path. So, but I'm good.
So in the past, IT was your pretty much, they served you and they provided you all your technical needs.
Yeah.
But now you're learning in a whole new area that is that who knows how you're down the road. This is gonna help you in your new business.
Oh yeah, and that's part of the reason why I embrace this now. I had to get over that initial block that I had mentally because we had IT and we had marketing to do whatever I needed in my department. But now that I got over that block, I see a big positive because now I'm able to do exactly what I need done to a point. I can conceptualize and I can just go ahead and do it or tell someone this is exactly what I want. So there's a big plus to that.
Well, like you say, there was a block there and now you've had a mindset change.
Yep.
And now you're opening your eyes to new ways. You've broken down that block, we'll call it.
Mm-hmm.
And now there's new opportunity. And the next time a new technology maybe comes around, you're not going to be as hesitant to dive in.
Oh no, I'm on a path now, a smoother path. So I'm good in, like I said, the good thing is that I embrace change. That one little piece that I had was, it wasn't a sudden thing that came out of COVID. It wasn't a sudden thing. I had that before in corporate. I had that. I didn't want to learn that. I didn't, but now I had to do it. It's a matter of necessity. But I'm finding a lot more, apart from having to do it rather than wanting to do it, I am finding a lot more positives in terms of where I'm going and what I want to do and accomplish.
It's another aspect to your life that you can say,
that's right.
Now I'm not afraid of this.
Yep.
How about you, Robert?
Yeah, for me, the COVID piece was an easy change for me. Probably
Why do you think that was?
You know what? I think because it involved outside of me making the decision. So when I talk about change and I have that 6, 7 aspect, it's when it was really coming from me. So going onto a new platform for Zoom, it was easy for me to do that and and make it, but not. I didn't fully embrace everything with it as I am now. Now I've learned all the little techniques and nuances, but again, at first, for some of this change, I was very apprehensive because it was, how do I look on video? How am I going to do? Am I gonna, now I've got something that's recording all my blunders and bumbles and stuff like that. So those types of things, because I think the bigger part of it is maybe that I'm not adverse to change. It's that I am worried about how I look during the change and the perception of me. Does it change what I have put out there to be who I am? And personal change is definitely difficult for me. I'm going through some stuff right now that is making me really question almost everything I do and how I'm going to interact with the world around me. And so that becomes one of those things.
Yeah, that's big. So maybe this will help you embrace and move forward in some of those things that you're being confronted with. Maybe this will help in that area. Did you write from the start? Did you see yourself as a leader in the way you are now in regards to embracing the things that we need to be doing in the community?
Yeah, I think that's probably a big portion of it. That I felt it was my responsibility.
Yeah. When you feel a sense of responsibility towards something that people are going to be looking to you toward, it definitely elevates the intensity of us understanding that we need to embrace the change. Yeah, definitely. So the next question I have here is, are your relationships, personal and professional, maturing or stuck in old thought patterns? When it comes to change, I know that, Robert, you and I had a talk Wednesday, and we had a little chance to get into this idea of our relationships and how more we're putting a value on those and spending more time with people and trying to develop those relationships that maybe we've in some ways taken for granted. Because that's a critical area that all of us need to slow down and think about the people that are on our paths. So I put that there because we need to change our thinking toward our relationships in order for them to start to mature. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So mindset point 1. Attitudes toward embracing change can change. Developing a mindset of change takes courage to challenge existing thought patterns, but breakthroughs are always available. What's important to us affects our desire to change. If we feel there's no benefit in changing, or if it doesn't impact us, we won't. Often, sometimes it takes a disaster or something be forced on us before we even accept the change. Can y'all think about something that's changed in your life that you've resisted?
Yeah. Yeah. So I can be brutally honest here today and open, because right now I'm going through a major change. I've had an eye issue for years. I have lost sight in one of my eyes, and over the last month, it has affected me dramatically because my eye got a little bit worse, which now has now I am no longer allowed to drive.
Ooh.
And my independence of life depends on me driving in my mind.
Wow. Sure.
And so over the last 2 weeks, I've been not driving. I've been, Ubering, and family members have been picking me up. I've been walking, and things of that nature. And during that time, over the 2 weeks, like I come to work at 6 o'clock in the morning. So for people, I don't want to inconvenience my family or my friends. So usually I'll try to Uber, but then my wife will go, "Oh no, I'll take you." And then in the process of taking me, it's a big hindrance. It's, oh, I had to get up early and all this, and I feel even worse. And so I was hoping yesterday I had my test for my peripheral vision, and I thought, oh, I'm going to pass this. In fact, I thought I even cheated a little bit to get through the test and pass so I could have my license. And I still failed. And so it has been last night, today, I'm like going, okay, I come to the reality. For the last 2 weeks, I've been playing with the idea. And now the reality is I can't drive. And so the change for me, I know, is going to be dramatic in changing how I do my life, because I'm very structured. And so I do things at a certain time, like on Sundays, I go to the grocery store at 10 o'clock. Not 10:05, not 9:55, I'm there at 10 o'clock. And so now these things are going to have to change, because I have to work with people around me to get me to and from. And it scares the living daylights out of me right now, of how I'm going to make this all work.
Yeah, and most of us don't like relying on other people, especially when we know that we've been doing something on our own for many years. So, yeah, that's going to be an adjustment. But understand that you're not the only one who've gone through that, and you can make it, but you got to keep the right attitude.
Yeah.
And that leads me to my next point, which is being clear on why we should change gives us mental toughness to see the change come into fruition. So understanding why you're needing to do this, when I was putting this notes together, I was reminded of when I quit smoking about 25 years ago. And I had been wrestling with the fact that I had started to smoke a little bit. And I was wrestling with this fact that I really didn't like doing it. I was really only doing it when I was going out and that type of thing. And it was just something that I started identifying the values, the good things that were going to come out of me stopping smoking. And then I was talking with this coworker one day, and we were talking about smoking, and he was also thinking about quitting smoking. And what we decided to do was challenge one another to say the next person who smokes would have to take the other person and their better halves out for a steak dinner at Houston's. And when we got in there, it was like, I'm not going to lose this bet. And I never took another cigarette from that day forward. And it was like, we spoke it out, we made an agreement, and it was out there, and now I had to live into it. And because I do take my word seriously, I was able to then give it up. So being clear on why is really important. And sometimes we need to try to understand from other people's perspectives why something's being done or why they're implementing a change, so it'll help us embrace what they're doing. Now, because I love the Bible, I had to think about, what does the Bible tell us about change? And it brought me to Ecclesiastes book 3, chapter 3. There is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens. A time to be born, a time to die. A time to plant, a time to uproot. A time to kill, and a time to heal. A time to tear down, a time to build. A time to weep, and a time to laugh. A time to mourn, and a time to dance. A time to scatter stones, and a time to gather them. A time to embrace, and a time to refrain from embracing. A time to search, and a time to give up. a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to mend, a time to be silent and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. I think this scripture is basically giving us the idea that we're going through all of these different changes in our own lives all the time. And this empowers me to know that there are going to be times that I'm going to be mourning, and there are going to be times that I'm going to be dancing, but it's all kind of part of the process. And that's what changes to us in our lives, whether it's in our business life, whether it's in our professional life, wherever it is, we're going to be seeing things are going to be changing. So I posed the question, where are you seeing change? And we've talked a little bit about this. And then I mentioned the COVID-19, how it's affecting our communities, workplaces, churches, how it's affected you. And I would like to also take a moment to identify one or two areas at work that you know need to be changed and you've been resisting. Anybody open to share? Maybe anything that comes to mind? Just a question.
Remember, you have to click on mute.
Before I speak about what you just asked, is Gabriel on, or is it just his thing?
I'm here. Good morning. Can you hear me?
Oh, okay. Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
because I realized that Robert wasn't calling on you, so this is why I asked. I wasn't sure you were on. Okay.
I'm thinking. I'm concentrated in everything that I'm hearing, so I'm just quiet here, absorbing everything.
Okay.
Oh, well, now that I know you're on there, I'm going to have to ask you a question.
Of course. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I'm not in video because I'm here in the office doing things, and I'm in a house type of worry. You know how this is.
Yeah, I'm at home too, so we're all So
Okay.
One thing that I have identified in my business side at home here that needs to be changed is I'm a very organized person. Mm-hmm. And because of the changes having to do all this, I'm handling not just the business side, but I have some other personal matters that require urgent attention over the next couple of months. Well, it has been going on, and I guess maybe between now and September. But because I'm handling that, and I'm also handling a health issue, and I'm doing the work, and so I have all these baskets, balancing. I have to, and that's what I'm working on now, to find a way to, and this is kind of strange for me though, because I'm usually someone who balances things very well. Mm-hmm. But when I think, and even when I was in corporate, and there was a time when I didn't have staff, it was just me. When I was creating a new department, I was able to balance all these things. Now I find that because of my having to be learning this virtual stuff, that whole side, learning new things, they don't deter me, but because of what I said before with the whole virtual piece, it has slowed me down. And so I'm having to play catch up, and I found myself being not as organized as I should be and I would like to be. And so that is grating on me quite a bit. So just 2 days ago, I was discussing this with my daughter, and I'm saying, help me to think through this, because you're here, and I don't want to be caught up in like running like a chicken with its head cut off, which is not something I like. So that area is getting back to being organized is a little slow. I'm slow in getting there, and it irks me a bit. So but that's one area that trying to get, because the year we are in the second half of the year.
Yeah.
And my L2 is in October, and some other things that I want to do. So I have to look at how I can make changes to accommodate what I need to accommodate.
So Ella, what I would recommend is that you just get alone and just start documenting and writing down what are the things that you know down deep you need to get done. Put them out on a paper, and then maybe even set some dates on what some target dates on when you're going to have some things done by, and then start working on it the best you can.
Yeah, I mean, I have done that. I mean, in terms of setting stuff, I have that. The issue is this other thing that I'm working, these other two things, they keep coming in with urgent stuff, and so that is where I am at in term. And these are not things that can wait, that I can push. I have to keep. So I'm going up, two step forward, and then I'm stuck, and then two. So that's where I am.
I can relate to that, because my dad is 92 now, and there's days that I hear from him and that I have to stop everything I'm doing and go and either see him or deal with something for him. And so, those type of things, but because they do become like number one priority.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to understand we all have to do that. I have to do that myself. That's just what's important right now.
Right.
Because we don't want to be looking back later and say we didn't make time for those things, those people who meant so much to us.
Yeah, it's the issue too for this other issue that this thing that I'm working on is not even here in the US. It's outside of the country. And had I been able to travel, I would not have had that kind of situation. So I've had to be, thinking out of the box, doing this, and then, so yeah, but yeah.
So Robert or Gabriel, does anything come to mind when I ask this question to identify one or two areas at work that need to be changed, that you need to start working on?
Yeah, for me, it's I'll use events. Before COVID, I didn't have to work to get people to participate. Everybody knew what they wanted to do, and so now it's more of that I'm having to talk to people and let them know what they need to do. We've got this business expo coming up in 2 weeks, and I know all these businesses need exposure. And when I'm talking to people, they go, oh, you know what, I probably should be involved, but this is something I've never done before. And how good is it going to be because it's virtual instead of face-to-face? And I'm like really struggling because part of me wants to make phone calls, but when I make phone calls in the past to say, hey, you should be a part of this event, it comes off as I'm trying to sell the event, not as in the past where I didn't do that. People would join those things because they knew it was the right thing to do. Not because to help out the chamber, but to help out their own business. And so right now people are still going through that transition of, oh, I need to market, but how do I market? And do I want to invest $150 or whatever into that instead of this? And I'm seeing a lot of our members kind of holding back because they really don't want to make the change, or they don't know if they can make that change properly. And so for me, it's like, okay, I need to start making some phone calls because I see people are interested from our emails and stuff, but they're just not signing up and finishing off and getting all the tools. And I only have like a week to get everything set up for them. So that's a big change for me, to go and actually ask people to participate. comparatively to before, where we had it out there, and when people participated, they participated. I didn't worry about it.
Right. Well, one thing that when we talk about the topic of change that affects us all, we also talk about that brings in the idea of procrastination.
Yep.
A lot of us procrastinate. We all say, well, I'm going to do this. And then before you know it, other things come up and then we don't do it. And time goes by, which is why this needs to be we need to have reminders of this every couple months or so. So as you know, we're constantly seeing changes in technology. Zoom has taken off as a platform to be able to communicate with one another. Webinars are taking off. We often see changes in our staff especially through this COVID-19, in our client relationships. But one thing, like I was talking with my dad yesterday, is a couple days ago actually, is that even with COVID, with every downside, we happen to be talking about stocks to get invested in. With every downside, where there's a lot of companies that aren't doing well, there are companies that are doing good, that are actually doing better right now. So in every situation, if we take time to look, we can find the positive or the good opportunities as well. And that's a mindset that we have to train ourselves to say, what are the good things that are coming out of this? And then I listed this. I'm sure that some of you, you probably all have heard this before. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. We're not here to change everything, but the things that are in our power are things that we need to be doing. So, some more truths about change. Change is inevitable. It's all around us, but it can propel us to new heights. I want to give a story of something that happened. I'm sure you all remember Hurricane Andrew. Hurricane Andrew, I was living in Cutler Ridge at the time, and Hurricane Andrew came barreling right into the Kendall, Cutler Ridge, Homestead area. Hurricane Andrew destroyed my home. I was working for a company that had a 6-story building, but it was all windows. Destroyed the building. It destroyed much of the computer systems that were inside the building. It just destroyed many people's homes. And it was really devastating. But when I look back to see how things changed for me in my life and how in every aspect things got better, I'm amazed. First of all, we were able to, I was flown out to Boulder, Colorado. I spent 3 months restoring the data center to get our computer systems back up. It allowed our company to continue. They built a new building in Cutler Ridge, what they call the bunker, which was a much stronger building to resist hurricanes in the future. It was ready 1 year later. I broke up with my girlfriend at the time, and 2 years later, after moving to Broward, met my wife, which I've now been married 20 years. That's just 3 of the benefits that came out of this supposedly horrific event. I mean, I should write about it. But in the midst of change, if you see it through, you're going to find something greater and something better. And that's really what I saw in the midst of this situation. And there's several other things, because I lost my home. My home was devastated. I lost a lot of my 90% of my furniture, my clothes were all soaking wet with salt water. But when I got some of the insurance money and came up to Broward and bought a new place, I got new furniture. It was amazing how through the midst of it, and then I had a chance to spend time and wonder, I don't know if any of you have been to Colorado, but we were in Boulder, and Colorado, where we were, was just amazingly beautiful. Right up against the Rocky Mountains. This is where our hotel room was. And my meals were paid for all 3 months. So it was amazing. So my second point is there's a right time for change which must be seized when it presents itself. Sometimes we get opportunities to change, maybe to take on a new account, to take on a new, embrace a new technology, and sometimes we miss those opportunities. We have to see that, we have to know if there's a change that's being presented to us, we need to be able to embrace it, because this change and this opportunity may never present itself again. Number 3, change is received differently by different people depending upon several factors. Now in this, I'm kind of talking about if someone is trying to impose a change upon us, for example. So for example, letter A, where they are in relationship to who's causing the change. The people who know us best are going to embrace the change much more quickly than people who don't really know why the change is happening or don't know our motives behind it. So we have to take those things into consideration when we go into making change. And the more and the better we do it at communicating why we're doing the change and getting on board the people who are going to embrace the change and who are going to then run with the change, the better the change is going to be received across the board. Where they are in maturity toward change and how the changes they previously experienced have affected them. If someone's gone through a lot of change, but they haven't taken time to see the positive that can come about in change, they're going to be very hesitant to change and embrace new change. They haven't done the work to see that in everything they can learn something from a change or from an experience, we'll call it. Do they see change in a positive or negative light? So as we work with other people, these are the factors that we should be thinking of when we want to implement or introduce something that might be a little different to them. How we embrace change has a lot to do with the way we see its benefits. If we do so lackadaisically, we won't see its benefits. Sometimes we go about things and we don't really put our 110% into what we're doing. And we need to do that and not be doing it tepidly. And this is a real good one that I've had. How emotionally tied to the current ways of doing things is a factor in receiving and embracing change. Think of hoarders. Think of hoarders when you think about a lot of them, they're hoarding memories from people or years past, and they don't want to let go of them because they're afraid of embracing the future. And that's an emotional connection. And sometimes we can get emotionally connected even to our computer systems or our surroundings when we don't want to change them because we're so used to them. And they become our way of life that we think, and then we're afraid to change them. Anybody have any comments on that? Any of those points? All right, it's 9:45. I'd like to take 5 minutes and pick up. Let's do 5 minutes to 10. All right?
Right.
If you have any questions from the first half, don't hesitate to bring them up when we get ready to start the second half.
Oh, I just realized that we're having a break. Okay.
Yeah, quick couple-minute break.
Okay. Robert, you can go to the restroom now. Oh. Oh gosh. Robert, if you're not moving away from your station there, I want to ask you a question, if I may. You're very versatile with Zoom, aren't you?
Not the greatest, but pretty good.
Pretty good, I think is okay for what I'm asking is, I am about to, I have been using conference call for some of the stuff that I do, but I'm now going towards Zoom, and I am planning to go online because I think my daughter told me that there are some YouTube how to do it kind of thing that I can look at. But I wanted to have someone, I like hands-on. I like to touch what I'm doing and see it, and not just watch it, because I watch something and then I have to go and do it and then I come back again. And so the question I wanted to ask you is, once I start that process of learning the ins and out of the Zoom platform and I get stuck, may I come and ask for your assistance?
Absolutely.
In walking me through where, because I want to make sure that I can do it seamlessly. I want to appear a professional in what I'm doing, not like, oh, I forgot this, or oh, I'm stuck, or I mean, things will happen, yes, outside of my control, like I lose power or something, but beyond that, it would be nice for me to have someone. I mean, if my daughter is here, she can help me, but sometimes she is on her own, what they call it, WebEx. That's what Apple uses. Yeah, so, and she has like 3 and 4 projects a day with Apple, going on, doing what they're doing. So I just wanted to ask you that, and thank you for. Okay, great. Thank you so much. That makes me feel so much better. I have a go-to person. I have a SOB. Oh my Lord.
So just so you know, Patty is also very good at Zoom.
Who?
Patty.
Oh, Patty. Oh, okay. Okay. That's
Patty's
good
probably even better than I am.
Oh yeah? Well, you'll be
Yeah,
my
I won't
number.
say that publicly, but to you I will.
You'll be my number 1 go-to, and she'll be my number 2. So. Oh my gosh. Okay. So I see you are back there in your chair, Mr. Negron. Do we have to keep to the 5 minutes, or can we move on?
No, we can move on. Is Gabriel there?
I'm here.
Okay, yeah, we'll move on. One thing I wanted to say before I start is that if anybody wants copies of the slides.
I was going to ask you that. Yes, please.
Yeah, I'll send them to your email. I'll send you the presentation to your email.
Thank you. I had it down on my thing. I actually had raised my hand at one point, but nobody saw me. So that was what I wanted to ask, because it helps when you can get the slide. Yeah.
Okay, so powerful quotes about change. The secret of change is to focus all of your energy not on fighting the old, but on building the new. Socrates.
Mm-hmm.
And that's so true.
Yep.
How much effort we put into fighting the old and fighting to hold on to the old is really what it should say, and not build the new.
And
Change-
isn't it wonderful when there are persons who fight the old and fight and fight and fight, and then when they eventually get to the new and get involved in it, how they say to them, say, "Oh my gosh, I didn't know that this is so good. I should have done this long ago."
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that resistance is there. Yeah,
That's when the leaders know that they did the right thing.
right, right.
Changes are inevitable and not always controllable. What can be controlled is how you manage, react to, and work through the change process.
Mm-hmm.
Billy Morgan. The real winners in life are the people who look at every situation with an expectation that they can make it work or make it better. If you focus on results, well, that was Barbara Pletcher. If you focus on results, you will never change. If you focus on change, you will get results.
Mm-hmm.
Jack Dixon. That was a powerful one.
The one that Barbara Fletcher, the one you just read with her, it reminded me of, I was watching a YouTube video of Steve Jobs when he was introducing the iPhone, and the way because he was doing it in a huge audience was there, and he introduced it little by little by little. It was great the way he did it, and I'm like, you know what, I'm going to copy some of what he does. But what he explained was he brought up the old and the other phones that were kind of old, and then he introduced the new. And I thought that was such a good way to put innovation in front of people and have that acceptance level be like, either maybe surpassing what you're thinking. And so the change, he managed the change. He managed the mental acceptance in these people. And when he was talking about it, I'm saying, I'm sure there are people who are not tech savvy, but when they saw that kind of rollout, it excited them and they look forward to the new iPhone. Just
Yeah.
the way. So how you manage it, like you were saying, how you manage the change or the rollout of the change or the introduction of it, that's where you fight the battle is won there, rather
Right.
than, yeah.
Yeah, and that work that's done up front goes such a far way where
Yep.
you don't have to do so much work on the back end.
Exactly.
But you have to make time to do it
Yeah.
on the front end.
Yeah. Yeah.
Introducing the change in a positive manner, and showing the value.
Yes.
And also when you are looking to do something like that, you have to get other people, other trusted members
Yep.
involved in it,
Yeah.
to where if they see something that is a showstopper, they can they have their chance to bring it up.
Right. Yeah. And you do that up before you have your people that your sounding board around the table, so that you know that you're right on with it,
Yes.
what you're doing. So yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure all of the major companies have a process of introducing change, that they have a methodology of how they're going to do that. I know we had that at Assurant. You had to show backup plans and what the change was going to do to allow people to see how is this going to impact me across in my department.
The problem. Sorry, go ahead.
It gave people a chance to review it before it was actually implemented.
Yeah, and that I was just going to say that yes, all companies have ways of doing that. The issue is when the leader or the so-called leader or leaders are not in tune with the people, and they are looking at it purely from a monetary or a profit point of view.
Yeah.
Or being the number one in the market, and they don't take the people and what they need into consideration when they are doing it. And that's why you have a lot of issues when you're rolling out new things, because the first thing when you roll out to the people, they are looking and saying, okay, so where am I in this? How is this going to affect me? How, you know, so it is, and that's one of the things that a lot of companies are struggling with even today, and it is now worse with COVID. So it is, I think that's an area that I've been looking at for some of my training.
Very good.
How you roll out, yeah.
So this is a snapshot, ways to embrace change, see change in a positive light. Change brings growth. Begin to believe there's something to learn from every change. Take steps to implement small changes in every area of your life, whether it be at work, financially, health-wise, emotionally, or spiritually. We can identify all of our aspects and just look at different small little things we can do, because over time, those small things will compound. And if we get a victory in one area, we'll feel empowered to get a victory in another. Assume responsibility and know you're an example for others on how to embrace change. Assuming responsibility also allows us to learn from the experience. That gets back to the point I made earlier, where you have to assume responsibility to say, what's my part in this? How did the change go? What can I do to help it? And then when you start doing that, you can start learning from every experience. Look for people who are also seeking to grow in this area, and be careful who you share ideas with. Not everyone is on your side and wants change. Don't always look for acceptance. I'm sure we've all introduced or shared an idea with someone and they kind of like squashed it.
Mm-hmm.
And they weren't as excited about it as we were. It was like, oh, who cares? And then I got a page here. A leader's responsibility in change. A leader needs to embrace the change with the appropriate sense of urgency, and this gets buy-in. I should also put not only urgency, but excitement, like you were talking about, Ella. Conveying that message that this is going to be something that's going to be better for us all.
Beneficial, yeah.
And believing that. You have to believe it. If you can't believe that the change is going to be better for everybody and be excited about it, then the people that you're introducing it to sure aren't going to do it. The leader's got to do that. Cultivate an environment of embracing change. Change at the right time draws people out of their comfort zone, but in the long run creates breakthroughs. We have to understand this from a perspective of when we're dealing with people, understand that people may not initially embrace change or be acceptable to change. Because what we're doing is we're trying to break through comfort levels at times. But we have to be willing to take a stand and go through with it if we know it's the right thing to do. And we have the right motivations and reasons. Reward others for recommending changes that enhance productivity or improve the client relationship. Because by setting up a culture of embracing change, we're also now encouraging others to put forth ideas of what they're seeing in the environment that can make, I know, Robert, you've done that before. You've asked people for their input to help the environment grow. Evaluate risk of the change and identify who it will impact. When implanting change, and I think that should have said implementing, not implanting. So I got one
So sometimes some companies have to implant it for it to take root. Because some people are holding on to the old thing even when they're supposed to move on.
Maybe it's implanting and implementing. Be clear. Be clear on why the change is necessary and communicate it clearly. We spoke a little bit about this earlier. Communicate it clearly to get buy-in and also to identify pitfalls. Understand that problems may arise that need to be worked through. Set a confident tone that things will work out. Never be fearful or show anxiety. So we got to have that. It gets back to that mindset. This is about developing that mindset that when things are thrown at us, we're not going to be freaking out. We're going to say, okay, this is part of the process. I'm sure that, Robert, when you implemented the new website for the chamber, I'm sure you had a host of things that came up that you had to work through, right?
Absolutely.
And I'm sure you had to, probably you bit your lip a couple, or bit your finger.
Bit my lip a lot and hid for a little while.
I'm sorry?
And hid for a little while.
Yeah. People don't like change. I'm sure that people, when they were seeing, why are you putting in this new system? I like the other one. I'm just getting used to it, type of thing.
Yeah.
Now where do I have to go? And the last bullet point I have here is be sure to follow it through to completion. If a leader is not engaged or shows they really don't care, it won't get done. Engagement is the key. As a leader, you can't be taking it lackadaisically, is my point here. You have to see how many changes. A lot of people talk about changes, but they never end up coming into fruition. You have to be steadfast and persevere to make the change stick. It takes determination to make the changes stick.
Robert, a
Yeah.
thought came to me, it reminded me of when I was in charge of the Nova campus in Jamaica. And we had a lot of growth, and of course, which brought a lot of changes. And I remember, because of how I had trained my staff, we got to a point where everything was just running smoothly. I could just hand off stuff and it was done. And I remember having a meeting on Monday morning. We usually meet on Monday mornings because we had classes on the weekends. So we meet Monday morning to review and see what didn't go well and what should be done and that kind of thing. And what I would do is that I would review and think about what has happened. And I would begin to see areas, not of deficiency, but areas where we could do better by implementing or adding something new. And I remember the first time I shared that with them, one of the newer employee, her question was, well, why do we have to change it? Because this is working well. And I remember saying to another employee who was there before, who started to smile. She said to her, because working well is good enough, but working better is best. And this is how Mrs. Gooden operates. So we're always, I said, this is how growth comes and excellence comes. So when people, and after that point, whenever we had to change things, it was easy, to the point where they begin to look at things and figure out how can they do something in a better way for it to be more beneficial to not just us in the department, but for the students as well, who, and so sometimes it's not that people are just, you have people who are they don't want to change, but you also have some persons who are really just ignorant of the need or to be, they don't know they are not growth minded normally, or they haven't learned. So they are not able to see why change would, bring more benefits. And that comes from training, and training in a way that you're coaching and mentoring employees.
Yeah, I've heard it said before that that good
is the enemy.
The enemy of best.
Of best, yeah.
And when we keep that mindset, if we're just doing something that it's okay, we're getting by with it.
Right.
That we should be saying and thinking, I think we need to change something here.
Right.
We need to strive for excellence, because think about it. If you go to a restaurant and you want to have an experience, and you say, and someone will ask, well, how was it? And you say, well, it was okay. Are you going to go back to that place? No.
No.
You want to go to a place where it says, man, I had a great meal there.
Yep. Yep.
If I'm going to spend my money, I want to go and really enjoy a meal. And I think that holds true in anything.
Mm-hmm. That's why you ask for referrals, right, Robert?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you think about this, if you go to a doctor and someone were to say, well, how's your doctor? And you were to say, well, he's okay. Well, you're trusting that person with your life,
Mm-hmm.
your whole health situation, and you're going to say, well, it's okay. Well, then you need to change, because we need to find who's the best.
Yeah.
Gabriel, you there?
I'm here.
Any comments, questions?
Thinking a lot.
Thinking.
I'm going through change since 2008, so I'm still changing more now. So I'm just thinking, taking notes. Yeah, I have some questions for the end, but yeah, I'm absorbing here like a sponge.
All right, good.
Yeah, I like it.
Okay, and then one of the things that leaders need to do is they need to celebrate successful changes.
Mm-hmm.
And recognize participants who were involved in making the change happen. This is a step that often gets left out. But when we do a good change, let's embrace it and recognize the participants.
Robert does that very well with the Pinnacle Awards.
Yeah, definitely.
And, yeah.
Definitely. All right. So, what are the benefits of embracing a mindset of change? One, it assures that there's always new things to learn and ways to grow. Doing the same thing over and over gets boring. We can become stagnant. That's not healthy. Anticipating the new and how it will enhance our lives. We can get excited about what's coming down the pike instead of being fearful of it. We can say, hey, there's going to be some new things coming down the pike. Embracing change sets you apart from those who are fearful, tepid, or procrastinators. The true business leaders are going to be the ones who do the best at embracing change, adapting to it, responding to it, being flexible toward change. Because like with this situation with COVID, none of us knew what this was going to do to our communities. And we've all had to become flexible and adapt to it. Embracing change creates new relationships. And also it can deepen other relationships. Embracing change builds confidence as challenges are overcome and fears are alleviated.
The penultimate one there about create new relationships, that is so key, because there are times when people work in an organization, small or large, and they just go to work, do what they have to do, and go home, and there's no real interaction, meaningful interaction with some of their co-workers. But when you're going through something like COVID here now, people begin to interact more with each other and begin to share more. And that is when it opens up. People feel what do you call it? What's the word I'm looking for? They feel empowered to share more of what they're going through, and then people begin to see this person and say, oh my Lord, this person, you know, this person is a very nice person and I didn't realize, and they begin to see similarities. And so yeah, you have new relationships coming out of situations like COVID, and other situations, like if you have an accident and your neighbors come to help you and you never spoke to them for years, and you begin to see a different side. So when change happens like that, it does, a lot of new relationships come out of that kind of situation.
Yes, very true, very true. So anybody have any closing comments? That's pretty much what I have right now. I would like to ask if everybody, if each of you could send me an email. Actually, what I'll do, I'm going to send you a survey. Would you do that for me? A quick
Sure.
survey?
Yep.
And then I'm going to ask in the survey for one thing that you're going to try to work toward that came out of this because of this seminar. And then I might follow up with you in a month or so.
Sure.
But I won't come with a bat, so you don't have to worry.
It comes what?
I won't come after you with a bat. So
Oh. So are we going to hear the questions that Gabriel has?
Yeah, I have more like, you know, it's more like thoughts, because I deal with, you know, I'm trying to make people change in what I do, which is marketing, business, strategy. And I found, you know, people are reluctant to change. You can see here, you know, I think the topic today and what, Robert, you are doing, it's you know, everybody needs to hear this class that you're doing today. And you can see how many people show up, because people, oh yeah, I have to change, but they don't really, when time comes and they need to do something, you know, people are like stuck, because, you know, change is painful. I know that from, you know, from myself. When I in 2008, at the beginning of the crisis, I was for a long time waiting for things to get like before. And right now it's happening the same thing, but it's totally different, because today is worse what is happening with people, how people feels. And, you know, it's about the reset and start from scratch right now. That's how we need to think. It's the past, the present won't be like the past today with the COVID crisis. So I remember I read a book. It says, you know, change is painful at the beginning, messy in the middle, and wonderful at the end. So
Very
it's
good.
yeah,
Yep, I like that.
yeah, it's very good, but it's about the executing and making changes. So I found that every day, like people, I talk to them, I explain to them why they should change, and you know, people, it's not easy. It's to change. It depends on the age and the body, how you feel every day. Like today, for example, I don't feel like going on video, so that's why you are not looking at me, but I can talk. So it's, you know, with this crisis, probably everybody's experiencing the same thing. Like some days you're up, you feel like optimism, you will change everything, and next day you don't feel like the same. So I think it's more, and that's what I'm you know, I think I like, you know, Robert, what you did today. But I would like to hear from you, like more tactical things, like more the small things that I have to do every day, like habits and things to start changing. And that's what I'm like, you know, fighting every day, like adopt a new small habit that make me change. And it's like going into a frequency, like a radio station, when you fine tune on the radio and you move and you like that song. So I think it's about that, like you know, like going into change. So I'm all the time looking for that, like what are the small things that I have to do now in the next 5 minutes to embrace change, because I totally agree that I have to change. And I think people, some people, they're stuck in the past, and they, especially if you know, I'm 50 years, so I'm Generation X. So I will say after 40, we are more reluctant to change. So which is a lot of us. So I think I would like to hear like more about that, the tactical thing, what I will do after I close the Zoom right now. What are those things that I need to do in order that I like change? I start to love change.
Yeah, you're talking about more practical stuff. As a matter of, you know, I just realized I do have another slide here that I think I should put here. There are certain things that are unchanging, what I call them unchanging values. Speaking and enacting with integrity, honoring our agreements, treating others with dignity, having an attitude of humility while serving others, listening, making others feel valued, being accountable for our actions, and respecting those placed in authority. I believe that these values, even though we do live in a world that's constantly changing, I believe that these are principles that we should all hang on to in the midst of a changing world. Who we are and how we show up, in the manner we show up, should not change.
Yeah, if I may, based on, if I understand what Gabriel, do you say Gabriel or Gabriel, because they're me.
Gabriel in Spanish,
Gabriel.
or Gabriel?
Gabriel.
It's good.
Sounds to me like Robert, he may be an what is the word I'm looking for? He may be I don't know what the word is right now, but he may be ready for a coaching session, because he based on how he phrased what he's looking for, the tactics and the little things that, so
yeah, he's looking for more detail, and
yes,
like personal things that he can actually
so
put his hands around and actually start doing today.
Right. So maybe you can work with him, and he, you know, or he can do a coaching session with you.
Yeah.
To go deeper at that level, because based on what he's saying, it would have to be personal to him. He's looking for personal help.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. No, I understand what you're saying. Yeah. We're actually going to be talking today later. So yes, we definitely can do that. But I understand what he's saying.
Yeah.
As far as just looking for some meat.
Yeah, I think like everybody is facing. I speak to other like with potential clients and people that I have meetings, and I found that, and I even have I used to have some clients that they hire me, and then they don't allow me to do what I was hired for, because they don't want to change. And I say, you know when I show you my presentation and we agree you have these problems, we should change different things. You agree, and right now you are like you don't want to change. So it's other things like egos and things, and it's a lot of foundational things which is very connected, Robert, with the last slide that you put. That definitely those values are that's the foundation of everything, and that will remain like even with any you should be compliant, even if anything happens, like doing the right thing even when nobody's looking at you. It's that type of things. So that should remain, and I totally agree with you. That's the base of any person. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What's your business, Gabriel? What do you do?
Yeah, I do. It's kind of that is a continuous change, and it's difficult to explain what I do. I will say, I can say it's marketing, but I don't like it's more than that, because I have my entrepreneurial experience. I used to have 14 employees, 2,800 square foot. My business, which is I'm just an expert in video communication with video. I do video since 1982.
Okay, so you're into the technology side of things.
No, not really. It's
no?
communication. My expertise is like produce emotions in people to persuade people to buy something. I do marketing.
Okay.
Using video, which is right now everything is video. Like what we are doing right now, it's an experience.
Yes.
So but I experienced the 2008 crisis after doing very, very well, and then I went down, I will say 40 floors, like until -5 in the basement. So I'm starting again from there since in the last years. So I learned a lot of things, evolving, changing, if every day. And having 50 years, I'm coming from the analog times, like you, that we know the VHS, the old things, and we are tied to very good times in the past. So change is difficult. So I use today all my entrepreneurial experience to help people at the personal level to grow their businesses, because if they don't change personally, it's difficult to change their business. They will be continue doing the old things that will not work today. So it's kind of a mix of things what I do.
What's the name of your company?
Encanta Media Group.
Encanta
ENCANTA.
Yeah Media Group. Okay. I'm going to look you up on the net.
Yeah, my website is a continuous evolving work also, because I'm trying to explain to people what I do and try to persuade them to evolve, to change their mindset.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All righty. So, any other closing comments before we break?
Well, I think that I enjoyed this session very well. I mean, I think that you covered a lot. Your delivery is spot on, and I think when Gabriel, when you get back to your group, you need to let them know how much they miss your leads group, other people, what they missed a wonderful presentation, and that they should sign up for the next one, which is coming in 3 weeks' time.
Okay, yeah, of course. And everything that talks about change, I'm reminding people every day, you should change. So I hope some more people will be here today.
Don't tell them you should change when you're talking to them, though. Just tell them you missed the best
I will
thing.
tell them they miss it.
You miss it, and it's coming in 3 weeks, so you get the date soon. You hear me setting up a thing for you, Robert?
Yeah, for sure.